I hope everybody's doing well. Time is never fluent. Time is a construct of something that we can perceive in the physical realm. Okay. I want to talk about time and past lives. Okay. Why don't we remember our past life? Okay. This is what I'm getting as a psychic. Okay. I've always got this as a psychic. I've always understood this as a psychic. So get comfortable. Oh, I had to write stuff down, you guys. So the construct of time, right? The construct or the concept of time is very interesting because time is something that we can perceive. Time is measurable, right? In the physical, right? But in the metaphysical or the spiritual, right? Time never exists. Okay? We have people that made time for a specific reason, okay? So you don't remember, okay? So why don't we remember our past lives? How do we access our past lives, or how do we remember our past lives, okay? Um Imagination. Okay? Imagination is a big part of understanding self, okay? Ancients understood this. Okay, a lot of things that they were saying to us and the knowledge that they left behind to us is through our imagination and through our conscious state, okay, of awareness. Okay, this is why you have to be consciously aware, okay? And there's something that happens each time you become consciously aware, okay, or awaken, okay? Like if you think about the resurrection, right? The resurrection is not the resurrection we think is the actual physical body, right? But the resurrection is not the physical body. The resurrection is, when we think about resurrection, it's waking up to our consciousness of awareness of our soul body. Okay, each time we're awakening and we're awakening and we're awakening and we're awakening. So each time you go through a resurrection period. Okay, so the imagination, they always taught us in Christianity to not to imaginate, not to trust our intuition. Okay, that inner knowing, that inner knowledge. Okay, that was wrong. Okay, because they don't want you to remember who you truly are. Okay, they don't want you to remember who you are. They don't want you to remember who your past life is. Okay, this is why a lot of us that come back in don't remember, but we do remember. Okay, hey Loretta, we do remember. Okay, there's things that you do in your awakening state consciously that you don't even know you're doing, that you have done in your past life. Okay, this is why you might be drawn to something, and you don't know why you're drawn to it. Okay, it's familiar. Okay, so imagination is ability to look into other dimensions. Okay, of your own consciousness. Okay, remember I did a video on conscious awareness. Okay, being aware of you waking up to your true consciousness. Okay, you're looking into your soul being, your spiritual body, your celestial body, your soul body. They use many different names out here. Okay, the soul never stops perceiving, while your physical body, you're always imagining, but you can't exactly see into different dimensions unless you are really seeing from a consciously aware that you're seeing um, into your soul body, or understanding your soul's body, your spiritual body. Okay. Remember, I said the spiritual body always comes before the physical body, but we can perceive, we can measure the physical time or the physical body. Like you're gonna go cook dinner, you're gonna go take a shower. Okay. So you gotta stop perceiving. um you have to always remember, imagination is very important. Okay. um it's the soul never stops perceiving while you're in your physical body, or imagining. You can exactly see into different dimensions. Okay. We can also use this knowledge to improve our life. Okay. Each time you awakening to a different stage of reincarnation, right? Of awakening. Consciously, I'll say awareness consciously, because you have to be aware consciously that you are waking up to a different state of consciousness. Okay. So when you wake up to a different state of consciousness, think of it as think of it as a reincarnation. Okay. The story that we were told in the Bible about reincarnation is not really the physical body, it's the spirit body that awakens. Okay. So we can use this knowledge to improve our life. Okay. This knowledge helps us understand who we are. This knowledge helps us understand who we were in the past, present, and future. That is being played out all at once. Okay. So if we look at past lives, okay, there is no such thing as time. Okay. I emphasize this so much in a lot of my videos where I talk about awareness, being aware consciously. Okay. And I say awareness because sometimes you're not even aware. Awareness, because everybody has a conscience, right? But sometimes you're not aware that you're waking up consciously, right? And this is where you have to be aware of your consciousness, because each time there is a reincarnation or a resurrection, you are waking up from a standpoint of a conscious awareness. Okay. A standpoint. Okay. So this can help you and also give you knowledge to improve anything that you need to improve in your awakened state. Okay. So the concept of time, and I emphasize this because to keep you trapped on the soul loop is to keep you on the loop of time. Okay. It's a construct of our physical life. Our physical is not yet aware to this knowledge until we wake up consciously. Okay. Where we're aware consciously that we're waking up. Okay. To this knowledge of Christ's self. Okay. So a lot of times when we look at religion, religion keeps you confined to growing spiritually, because religion teaches you not to trust your intuition. Also, religion teaches you it keeps you confined on this loop of time. Okay, I'm not saying you don't have to have a religious belief. You can have a religious belief. When I was on my spiritual journey, and I talk about this to my new viewers out here, I never found the truth in the churches. Okay, the truth about who I am, the truth of my awareness, the truth of my knowledge, the truth of the Christ conscience. Okay, people call it the Christ conscience, and who we really are. Okay, So our physical is not yet awakened to this knowledge, okay, into the Christ self. This is knowledge that you have to tap into the Christ conscience, okay? Dimensions are a state of consciousness, okay? So, you know how in the metaphysical or the spiritual realm we talk about dimensions, people going to different dimensions, interdimensional. Um, it's a state of consciousness. It's not a state of physical being, okay? This is why I say it's not necessary um, to look at it as something that's physical, okay? Because you will never see it as something that's physical. It will always be something as a state of consciousness, okay? You're waking up to a state of consciousness where you're waking up to a state of awareness, okay? Now, when we talk about the new earth, you hear a lot of people say, oh, we're going to this new earth, okay? That is not true, okay? That is not what I perceive, okay, as a psychic. As a psychic, I see the new earth is not about going to some other place out there. It's in the inner state of self, inner state of consciousness, inner state of awareness, okay? It's in an inner state of moving forward with your awareness of your true consciousness, being aware of waking up to your true consciousness state of awareness. It also is an inner state of consciousness that we project outwards, okay? We project this outer state of consciousness. I call it mirroring or projecting. We project it outwards as our experience, okay? So the new earth is not a place that you go to. The new earth is a awareness of awakening of the consciousness state that you're in, okay? It shifts your reality, okay? It also shifts within, not without, okay? And that is very important to remember, that the shift that occurs in your spiritual body and your physical body, it's not a shift that occurs outwards, but a shift that occurs within yourself, okay? And a lot of us think that we are going to some new earth, okay? The new earth is our consciousness shifting, okay, to the awareness of our true reality, our true consciousness, okay? The shift is always within, it's never without, it's never out, it's always within, okay? So when you grow, when you learn, you're always shifting, okay? You're always shifting your consciousness, you're always shifting your awareness, you're always shifting your understanding, you're always shifting your wisdom, okay? What I mean by shifting is aware of the consciousness state that you're in, understanding the conscious state that you're in, okay? Whatever conscious state that you're actually in, okay? The ideal of the new earth is real only when we perceive it being real, okay? You guys, I did so many videos on being consciously aware. If you can go back to my videos, you can watch those videos. Hey, Elizabeth. You can go back to those videos where I talk about being aware consciously, okay? Because when you're aware consciously, you understand who you were in a past life. You understand this loop of time that they keep us on, where they erase our memory, okay? But what happens is when you understand who you are, well, you have it where you understand the awareness of consciousness, the awareness of who you are, okay? not the perception of who you are. You understand true consciousness. And each time that you become aware consciously, it is like a reincarnation, because you are you're reincarnating back into something new, where you're learning something new. You're using that, you're utilizing that consciously, okay? And you're shifting your perception in your life, okay? So when I talk about this kind of stuff, why is it so important? Because shifting your perception of consciousness can really awaken you up, waking you up to awareness, okay? Awareness in everything in your life, okay? And it always starts within, not without, okay? There is a comedic, not just comedic, metaphysical saying. They always say, um, as above, so below, as within, so without. It's not, the way it's even said is wrong, okay? It's so within, so without, okay? Um, so below, as above, okay? Um, so the new earth that we perceive that we're transitioning into is not an actual place. It is an actual place, not in the physical, but an actual place in your consciousness, okay? It's shifting your perception, shifting your reality, okay? When this happens, you also grow, okay? You grow a lot. You tapping into your inner consciousness. You're learning a lot about yourself, about patterns in your life. Also, you're aware of the patterns in your life, if they're good patterns or they're bad patterns. A lot of times we repeat the same patterns because we're not aware consciously of we're not aware because we're are not awake consciously, okay? So each time you grow, okay, because everybody's growing consciously, okay, and we are growing into a consciousness of awareness, okay, true awareness. It's not like people say, oh, this new earth. um, this earth has been here for a very long time and will be here for a very long time, okay? um, it's eternal, okay? It's the eternal earth. It's been here for a very long time, okay? So the shift is always happening within, not without. So when you're shifting your consciousness of your physical reality as you know it, you're waking up to your true consciousness, okay? And each time that happens, you awaken, you understand who you were in your past life, okay? Um, because they don't want us to know who we truly are, okay? So this is why we have a lot of manipulation in religion itself, because religion can only take you so far, okay? Um, for me to find my inner truth, on my spiritual journey, I was seeking it in churches. I went to different churches, different. I've been to every different kind of church in my spiritual journey. Okay, so when I understood that the church wasn't where I would find my spirituality of who I truly am, or knowing thyself, or knowing myself, it shifted my perception of my reality, and it also shift my perception of my true consciousness of awareness, okay? So when you come out of that state where you're confined, where they say if you don't do this, you don't do that, you're going to this place of hell, okay, um, is to keep you stuck in your physical form of consciousness. But to awaken, you have to be in your, hey, Genevieve, you have to be in, not in the state of the physical, but in the state of the true consciousness. Okay? The true awareness of consciousness. The true growth of consciousness. The true resurrection of consciousness. Okay? And we are all on this spiritual journey. Many of us are in different places in our spiritual journey. And we have to look past the concept of time, because when we look past the concept of time, we understand true conscious awareness, or true awareness of conscience. Because time keeps us confined into a false physical reality. Okay? And we have to go past the false physical reality. Okay? So each time you awaken, or you're aware of this awakening within yourself, it always happens within. Okay? And everybody is in a different place, spiritually, spiritually, everybody's in a different place. Okay? So the earth that we seek is not some other place. The earth that we seek, the new earth, the new earth of consciousness, is within us. Okay? So each time we're evolving, we're dissecting, we're understanding, we're growing, we're learning. There is a reincarnation period, okay, where we are reincarnating, not just reincarnating, but resurrection of our old self, or our old ideology, or old patterns, or our own concepts of our physical reality. Okay? And what happens is, each time you remember, you are awakening, and you can remember your past lives. Okay? Some of you guys may say, you do things in the physical and you don't understand, okay, why do I know how to cook this? Or why do I know how to do this? Or why do I know how to do that? Because you have done it before. You're just not aware consciously, or awaken consciously, that you have done this in a past life. Okay? And there is also, this is why the loop of time keeps us trapped. Keeps us trapped where we don't know thyself, or know ourself, or know the Christ conscience within ourself. Okay? When I was little, I remember I can always tap into interdimensions, or dimensions. And the reason why I could do that is because I had imagination. Okay? This is why imagination is so important for our children. And so important for us. Okay? And also, our imagination helps us remember who we were. Okay? We're ancient. Okay? Very ancient. There was a time where we already had this knowledge. Okay? There was a time where we knew who we were. There was a time where we understood who we were. Okay? This is why I know that one of my past lives, I was in a place they call Atlantis. Okay? They call the people the Atlanteans. I lived there. Okay? I remember it. This is why I always say in some of my videos, my Atlantean life. Okay, the life I once lived in Atlantia. Okay, the Atlantia was a place, was an actual place. It once exists. And some of us are descendants of the Atlanteans. Some of us are descendants of other beings, other places. Okay, we're scattered all over the four corners, past the four corners. Okay, because there's more than four corners. We look to the east, not to the west. Okay, we have the crescent moon. Um, okay, so the shift always has to happen within, not without. And when the shift happens, don't be hard on yourself. Use that time as a learning time, okay, for yourself. Okay, use that time as a learning experience. Okay, so you won't repeat the same cycle. Okay, you know better, you do better, right? That's the old saying. Everybody used to say, you know better, you do better, right? So why I wanted to talk about this is too, I wanted to talk about energetic trauma and ancestral trauma and generational trauma. Okay. And how ancestral trauma, generational trauma, and generational trauma, ancestor trauma, um, ancestral trauma, generational trauma. What's the other one I said? How you heal this. Okay, so how you heal ancestral trauma, how you heal generational trauma, how you heal trauma within, is you have to go within, not without. Okay, you have to go within yourself. Okay, and there it's so easy to heal ancestral trauma. It's so easy to heal generational trauma. It's easy, you guys. The first step of it is being consciously aware of the trauma. Okay, um, speaking about the trauma. Um, First acknowledging the trauma happened. Okay, because a lot of people are in denial of their own trauma. Okay, so what happens is when you're in denial of your own ancestral trauma or your own trauma or your own generational trauma, it's never healed. Okay, because you don't address it. Okay, the first thing is being consciously aware. Okay, this is trauma. Okay, and how do I heal this trauma? Okay, I talk about it. Um, I change the direction um, going forward. Okay, for the next generation. Okay, I'm not perfect. Okay, I'm not perfect by no means. Okay, but we learn and we evolve. We learn, we evolve, and we grow. Okay, and part of learning and evolving and growing and being consciously aware is first being consciously aware that, okay, this has happened. Okay, this is the reality of what happened. Okay, and how am I going to change this for the next generation? Okay, consciously. Okay, is by talking about it and then taking action. Okay, the second thing is taking action. Okay, some of you guys may have patterns of addiction. Some of you guys may have patterns of where you're not speaking your truth. Okay, you're not saying, okay, this has happened to me. This, and I notice when I do a lot of reads on people, I notice that it's a repeating pattern of ancestral trauma, also a repeating pattern of generational trauma, a repeating pattern of generational trauma. Okay, because the generation before never really addressed the trauma. Okay, they hid the trauma. Okay, it's not good to hide trauma. Okay, because that is not how you're going to heal. Okay, You can heal trauma. You can heal ancestral trauma. You can heal generational trauma. Um, you can heal. Okay, you can heal is by going within and addressing it. Okay, talking about it and changing. Okay, patterns. Okay, and by doing this, you are aware consciously. Okay, you're going within consciously. Okay, and then if you're around people that don't want to heal generational trauma or ancestral trauma and they want to keep living a lie, the truth is the only way out. Okay, you seek the truth, you find the truth. Okay, the truth is yourself. Okay, the truth is whatever happened or whatever didn't happen. Okay, that's the truth. Okay, but it's within, so it's within yourself. Okay, I remember I was always a giver. Okay, I always gave, right? um I always helped other people. Okay, because I was a giver. Okay, and what I mean by giver is I always want to help others, but who's there to help me? Okay, it's like you're in a body of water and you're drowning, right? um who's there to save you when you're drowning? Okay, you're there to save everybody else when they're drowning, but who's there to save you when you're drowning? Okay, so you have to take care of yourself. Yourself is the most important thing, and by taking care of yourself, and people may think that, oh, because I'm taking care of myself, I'm being mean or I'm being egotistical, but that's not true. Because when you start taking care of yourself, you will see others take care of themselves. Okay, if they're awakened consciously, because they see you taking care of yourself, right? So they're going to want to take care of themselves. Okay, this could be your children. Okay, you may have done so much for your children, and you come to a point where you have to hold a child accountable, because that's the only way they'll grow. Okay, consciously and physically. Okay, so when we don't remember our past lives, it is important in some capacity to remember where you came from, because by me remembering my past, I can heal the future generation to come. Okay, but I have to go within myself. Okay, so a lot of people are givers. We call it the wounded healer effect. Where you have been wounded and you want to heal everybody else, but you're not healing yourself. Okay, I call it the wounded healer effect. Okay, but always remember yourself comes first. Okay, you can't help nobody if you can't help yourself. Okay, you can't love anybody until you love yourself. Okay, my mom always says the truth is the only way out. Okay, and she's right. The truth is the only way out. Okay, the truth will set you free. Okay, the truth will take away burdens. Okay, being in your nakedness, being in your rawness, being in your realness. Okay, my mom always says that. It's like one of her favorite saying. She says, the truth is the only way out. And she's right. She's right. Okay, the truth is the only way out. Okay, oh, the only way out of this concept of time, this concept of false reality. Okay, the concept of awakening our consciousness, of being consciously aware. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you guys with that. Also, we are living out our past, present, and future all at once. And some of us don't even realize that, but we are. And sometimes we have to look and tap into a different perception of reality, because some of our realities are false realities. Okay, And how we tap into the true reality is understanding ourselves, knowing ourselves, okay, speaking in our truth, walking in our truth, and living in our truth, okay. Because when we don't live in our truth and we don't walk in our truth, what happens is the generational trauma that's passed down to the next generation, because you didn't say, oh, this happened to me as a child, and you didn't address it, you didn't confront it, you wasn't truthful, you try to hide it. It doesn't help. It doesn't help yourself. It doesn't help your children. It doesn't help your grandchildren. Okay? It doesn't help. Okay? So you have to tap in, not just tap in, you have to be in your nakedness. Okay? Your nakedness, your rawness. Okay? And tap into that, your truth. Okay? Tap into that. And there's different phases of consciousness. Okay, they don't teach you this, but they should teach you this. As a psychic, there is different phases of consciousness. Okay, and how we perceive consciousness. Okay, or being consciously aware of what's really the reality, right? And what we see in front of us. Okay, it's not just about what's in front of us, the physical body. Okay, remember I say the spiritual body comes before the physical body. Okay, because you are that light. When I look at, when I do reads, or when I look at somebody, the first thing I can see is their aura. The second thing I can, well, the first thing I pick up is their energy. Not really, well, people say energy, but who they truly are. And then the second thing I pick up, well, I see their aura, of course. And auras never lie. But auras can change, and some auras stay the same. Okay? It depends on where you're at consciously. Okay? There's different phases of consciousness. This is why people always say, they always talk about they can't remember, okay, because they're not living their truth, okay. And then there's also manipulation going on, okay. But when you're in the true form of conscious awareness, you understand this, okay. And we're all in different places of conscious awareness, and we're all growing consciously. We're all awakening to who we are, okay? Because there's power in knowing who you are, okay? There's a weight that you carry by knowing who you are, okay? Yes. This cat is not normal, okay? I don't know where this cat came from. Storm is a cat that I rescued, and this is not a normal cat, okay? This is not a normal cat. Say hi, Storm. He's not normal. My other cat was totally different from Storm. I mean, Storm is very vocal. Very, very vocal. And it's interesting. Animals can really feel your energy. Okay. Even when you, what? You want me to hold you? Come on. Come on. He wants to play. Okay, you guys. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to do a read on somebody. This read I'm going to do on this next person is very interesting. But consciousness. So consciousness and awareness is very important. And the resurrection, a lot of things that in the biblical sense, as we see, we think it's a physical, it was something physically that happened. But it's not something that physically happened. It's something that spiritually that happened. Okay? That is really what it is. Okay? But we perceive it as something physical. Okay? But it's not something physical. It's something spiritual. Okay? So I'm going to do more videos on generational healing and ancestral healing, um, because it's so important that we heal, um, heal for the next generation to come. It's so important, because when your children see a healed mother or a healed father or a healed grandparent, it's amazing, because when they see that, they see their grandparent living in their truth, their parents living in their truth. The child starts living in their truth. Okay. Yes, Storm said hi. I'm telling you, this cat can talk. He can talk, you guys. Pickles was not like Storm. Okay. Storm is very vocal. Okay, I never met a cat this vocal. Okay. He's very vocal. Yes, he said hi. um Not just vocal. um Cats are very interesting. They just are very interesting creatures. Jesse the Don, yes, he's not like Pickles at all. Pickles was so laid back. um Pickles was very laid back. Pickles was not vocal as Storm. um okay. And he's different. Animals have their own personality, just like humans have their own personality, just like children have their own personality. And you normally can see the personality um of how that child's going to be when they are a child. Okay. um and sometimes they change, their personality changes because of different circumstances, good experiences or bad experiences. But yeah, he said hi. He's different. I don't know where he came from, but they need to take him back where he came from. Because some days, you guys, I'm telling you, I'm just like, he's too much. But what happened with Pickles, I don't want to lose another cat. Because when I'm sad, he knows when I'm sad. When I'm happy, he knows when I'm happy. They're very interdimensional. This is why they always say cats have 9 lives. They are interdimensional beings. Okay, the cats. Okay. Um, wow, I can go deep into that, but I really don't want to go deep into that. I went into it with one video on cats, but some of you guys are going to think I'm crazy if I say some certain stuff. Yes, Pickles. Pickles, when I left the house, oh man, just thinking about it. He's with a loving family. I couldn't take him with me to Florida when I moved to Florida. He's with a loving family. I cried. My daughter cried. Pickles went with me. I was leaving. I'll tell you guys a story. It gives me chills just talking about this story. Hey, Oliver. Hi. So I was going for a walk. I like to go for walks and hikes. I know I may not look like it because I gain weight, but I like to be in nature. Okay. You learn a lot in nature. Nature talks to you. Okay. You just have to listen. Okay. The trees talk, the grass talks, everything has vibration. Okay. So I remember when I was going for a walk that day. Okay. And I got ready to leave my house. I was going to meet my son. I don't know. No, my son did. I don't know. Did my son go with me that day? No, I went by myself on a trail by myself. My son wasn't with me that day. Normally, my son will meet me and we'll go hiking and we'll say, okay, let's meet at this point, this spot, and we'll just hike. There's a lot of times I go hiking by myself. Okay. But there's so much going on in the world that I have to take Mr. Black with me. Mr. Black, you guys know what Mr. Black is. I call him Mr. Black. It's crazy you can't hike in the woods because you never know if you'll make it out the woods. It's just crazy. But anyways, so I was getting ready to go on a hike, and I left the house. Pickles was laying on, I have this little ottoman in the middle of my furniture. Okay, I still have the furniture, still have the ottoman, and Storm likes to lay on that same ottoman. Okay, so Pickles, he used to like to lay on that ottoman. Okay, um, and I was leaving, and some sometimes I say goodbye I say goodbye to my cats. Okay, I give them a kiss and say I'll be back. And they know when you're leaving. Okay, when I'm leaving, Storm, he would know. Pickles would know. So I was getting ready to leave, and a lot of you guys seen that picture of Pickles in the spiritual realm. Um, he wasn't in the physical; he was in the spiritual. Okay, he went with me. When I shut that door, I felt his spirit go with me on my walk. Okay, and when I was, this sounds crazy. I know this may sound crazy. Some of y'all may think I'm loony. Some of y'all may think I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. Okay, Pickles was with me in that car and on my hike. Okay, my cat Pickles was with me, not on the physical. I didn't pick the cat up and put him in the car. Okay, he was there in the spiritual with me. And when I knew that. Okay, as soon as I left that door, I knew he was with me. Okay, I didn't pick him up and carry him out the door and put him in my car. I knew he was coming with me in the spiritual. Okay, and I know this may sound crazy. I have evidence of it, and you've seen this, Jesse the Don. Okay, and many others have seen this that have been on my channel for a very long time. Okay, so I got in the car. I knew Pickles was with me. I go on in the hike, and I know Pickles was with me because I was by myself. Okay, that day I went hiking. I was well, I didn't go hiking. I went for a walk. Sometimes I go hiking. I may not look like I go hiking, but I do. And sometimes I go for a walk. Okay, nature is where I find my peace. Okay, being in nature. Okay, and I felt the whole time Pickles' energy with me, right? So I turned around, and I knew Pickles wasn't with me in the physical. I knew he was with me in the spiritual realm, and I took a picture of him, okay, to prove that he was walking with me. He was with me, but he wasn't in his physical form. Okay, he was in his spiritual form. Okay, so what he looked like in his spiritual form, you guys can. I'll try to find the picture and repost it. And I know some of you guys are gonna think I'm batshit crazy. Okay. I took a picture of Pickles, and Pickles is a white and gray cat. But if you see Pickles on the spiritual realm, he was green. His aura was green. Okay, and we were out in nature. Okay, I was walking, and I felt the cat behind me, and I just took the shot. Okay, and he appeared in the picture that I took. Okay. So this is not make believe, this is for real. Okay. Somebody says we don't know how energy works. Yes. They don't want you to know how energy works. I'm telling you how energy works. Okay. Energy is transferable. Okay. Energy is very real. Okay. Energy is our life force. Okay. When we look at the concept of energy, all it looks like is, I'm trying to explain how it looks like. It's interesting. There was a show on Netflix, and it actually shows you what energy looks like. Okay, I couldn't believe it. Okay, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly how energy looks. Okay, and I've been trying to explain this to people since I was a child. Okay, I used to go in the woods where I grew up in, I grew up in Florida and Pennsylvania. And I used to go in the woods and be in the woods for hours. And there were so many things that I seen in the woods as a child. And I still would go back in the woods the next day. Okay? Yes, I would still go back in the woods. I never feared nature because I was one with nature. Okay? It was very interesting. My imagination as a child this is why when you have a child that has a imagination, don't suppress their imagination. Okay? Don't suppress it. Embrace it. Okay? Because when I was a child, when I used to be in the woods alone, okay, alone in the woods, you guys, I took you back to my childhood home, and it's still there. It's still there. My childhood home, and if you go behind my childhood home, I'm talking about there's woods that go so far back that you can get lost. Okay. Um, and I would get lost in the woods. I never forget this. Okay. And I would be in the woods by myself. Sometimes I would be in the woods with my stepsisters. Um, and sometimes I would be in the woods for hours by myself. Okay. Because there's no time. So I would, when you're a child, you don't understand the concept of time because there's no time. Time doesn't exist. So then when I come back, I would get in trouble because I would be in the woods, and then I would hear my dad or my stepmom call my name to come back. Okay. Yes, I'm telling you. Okay, we're all one with nature. Energy is very, very beautiful. Okay. Energy looks like a light. Okay. A ball of light. Okay. That's what energy looks like. Energy changes, it transforms, it's transmuted. Okay. It's a beautiful freaking thing. Okay. And it's duality when you are, because you're not, as a psychic, you're not really manipulating energy, you just understand energy. Okay. mm. Jesse the Don said I'm not crazy. I think we do know the concept. We don't know. Okay, they don't want you to know the full concept of energy. Okay, energy is, everybody carries energy. Okay, now some don't carry energy. Okay, but I did videos on this. Okay, um, we as humans. Okay, there's different types of humans. Okay, there's humans, there's hybrids, there's clones, there are astral, there's other beings. Okay, galactic beings, so that's what you guys want to call it, galactics. I mean, they have federations of the galactics. Okay, I'm just saying. And I know it sounds funny, but it's not funny because there is other beings out there. Okay, I have encountered them. Okay, um, I have encountered probably every being, not every, but most, as a child psychic, even as an adult psychic, because some people are psychic, don't even know they're psychic. Okay, I have encountered so many galactic, if you want to call them the galactic beings. Okay, I have encountered them. Okay, and even as a child, I have encountered them. Okay, um, some are good and some are not good. Okay, there's duality in everything. Okay, I had encountered the tall whites. Okay, I have encountered what else I've encountered? The grays. I have encountered the reptilians. I have encountered what are those ones? They look like oh man, they look like they have those things that come out. Um what are they called? Um Anybody from the Galactic Federation on my channel, help me out here. I don't even mantis, or yes, mantis. I have encountered them. Oh, Jesse. Okay, in insoids. They look like mantis. I have encountered them. I have encountered them all. I have even encountered the ones where their hair looks like gold. What are they called, Jesse? They have gold looking hair. Okay. Now they can be from the family of I don't know. They have gold hair. Okay, I've encountered them. There was one that used to come to my window all the time. Okay, as a child, and I was scared of it. I was scared of it because it had gold hair. Okay, and it freaked me out. Okay, um, I encountered that one, and let me tell you a story. I'm telling you, man, your instincts really protect you out here. Okay, your instincts really protect you out here. Because I remember going back to my childhood home. I did a live video that day. The Plemidians, okay? So there's different kinds of Plemidians, okay? So yes, when I encountered the the Plemidian, I'll never forget it. Um, we used to have bunk beds as a child, okay? Me and my stepsisters, I had one sister on my father's side and one brother on my mother's side. Okay. When I encountered, as a child, I would encounter different beings. I thought it was my imagination. Okay. But I really encountered with these beings. As an adult, I understood I had real encounters with these galactic beings. Okay. There's a galactic federation out here. Okay. These galactic beings are real. Now, I want to tell you guys something. Some are made in military bases. Okay. Some of them are not real. They're hybrids. The one that looked more European was the one with the blonde hair, the tall white. Okay, the tall white was, it looked like a human. Okay, but the how I knew it wasn't human is the energy that she gave off. Okay, I knew right away that she was not human. Okay, I knew she was not of this galaxy. Okay, I knew she was um, from another galaxy. Okay, and I kept hearing my ancestors say what galaxy she was from, because I didn't know what the hell galaxy she was from. Okay, but they were saying she was a tall white. Okay, um, and I did not like her energy. And the reason why I said I didn't like her energy is because she knew I knew who she was. Okay, and those kind of galactic beings, some of them try to manipulate the energy that they carry, but they can't manipulate the energy they carry with the ones that can see. Okay, they can try to, but they can't. Okay, because when you come around a galactic being, I'm gonna call them galactic or star ancestors or whatever you want to call them. They're not just in the sky; they're in the body of water. Okay. Um, um, her energy I did not like. Okay, at all. Yes, telepathically. Yes, we're telepathically communicating. Yes. Um, and she could read my thoughts. It was crazy, and I knew she could read my thoughts. Okay, so I was letting her know that I can also read her thoughts. Okay, so she looked like a regular white girl. Okay, um, she had blonde hair. Okay, um, some of them have, they're so white. I mean, she was so freaking white. Okay, she looked like she had no color to her. She was very pale. Okay, she looked like she just walked out of Antarctica. Okay, that's what she looked like. Okay, and what she had on really, really was like, I was like, what the hell? Because it was like, it was so cold, and she had like barely no clothes on. Okay, so I'm like, what the hell is going on? Some of them, they'll wear extra clothing so they can cover up their skin. She did not care. Okay, but yes, it was telepathic communication, because they can telepathically talk to you. Okay, without speaking. Okay, and you can telepathically communicate with them. But the thing is, we have to be mindful of these galactic beings, because there's good and bad galactic beings, and then there's some that are made, okay, in laboratories, military laboratories. I've seen it with my own eyes. Okay, they're not all good. Okay, there's duality in these galactic beings. Okay, and some of them are good. They want to bring awareness to our consciousness. Okay, so some of us can wake the fuck up. Okay, of what's really going on out here. Okay, so when she sat down, I knew, that she was not. She presented herself as a human, right? But she was not human. Okay, I didn't get up. I sat there and I talked to her. Okay, um, and she knew right away, and I knew right away that she knew that I knew who she was, and she knew who I was. Okay, so they can telepathically communicate. They can also telepathically read your thoughts. Okay, this is an ancient code. Okay, an ancient code. Okay, an ancient code. Okay, some of you guys like when I talk about stuff like this. For my Galactic Federation people. Okay, shit. It sounds crazy as hell, but her energy. I didn't like her energy. Um, she was trying to manipulate, but she couldn't manipulate. Her energy was false. What I mean false is she was trying to present herself as nice, and she wasn't nice. Okay, you ever meet people and they automatically start off conversations where it's the most bizarre ass conversations. Okay, and you think to yourself, am I really even having this conversation, or is this conversation even real? Okay, that is a conversation that we had. Okay, even when I left, I was like, she wasn't human. How do I even explain this to people that she's not human? Somebody says, yes, I love it because I know I'm not the only one who has seen them. Yes, we all have seen them. We all have encountered tall whites. We all have encountered Pleiadians. Pleiadians. I always say their name wrong. We all have encountered, what are they called? Intersoids. They look like, I'm sorry if I'm saying their name wrong. Intersoids. They look like mantis. Okay. Um, I remember when my oldest daughter, was at the store, and she had a tall white in front of her. Okay. He had on, this was a man, it wasn't a woman, tall white. He had on black. He had on a jacket, but because she said, Mom, this person in front of me is not human. So I said, send me a picture. Soon as she sent me the picture of him, I knew. Okay, he was a tall white. Okay, um, instinct type aliens. Yes, I knew right away. And she picked it up right away. Okay, my oldest daughter. All my kids are psychic, even my grandkids. Psychic runs in your family. Okay, so she was at the store and she was like, "This person in front of me is not human." She knew right away. Okay, she sent me the picture and I was looking at the aura. Okay, and I knew that this aura was an interdimensional being. Okay, and I shared it with you guys. Okay, um, and I couldn't believe it. Okay, I mean I could believe it, but she encountered the tall white for that was she she perceived that was her first time, but I perceived it wasn't her first time. But that's the first time she was consciously aware. Okay, where she screenshot the picture and sent it to me, and I could see the aura of the galactic being. Okay, it's feeling you get to as soon as you, yes, your body, when you come in contact with a galactic being, the first thing you feel, this is why your instincts are so important. Okay, you do get a feeling in your body, and your body will react. Okay, so what happened was, when I encountered the reptilian race, because there's different reptilians. There's hybrid reptilians. Do you think these are fallen angels? I think some of them are fallen angels, and then I think some of them are from some star system. From some star system that is very ancient. Um, that they are still here. They're still in contact with us, and they're interdimensional. Okay. Yeah, some of them are. Now, when we talk about the fallen ones, you can look at the Nephilims, the Nephilims, the Anunnakis, and the what's the other ones? Because some people carry that bloodline of the Anunnakis, some carry the bloodline of the the Nephilims were the some of them were the Anunnakis, okay, and then there was hybrids off of the Anunnakis, okay, so a lot of people carried the bloodline, okay, um, and this is why you see certain families inbreed because they want to keep their bloodline pure of this Nephilim bloodline or this Anunnaki bloodline. Um, I mean, there's all kinds of bloodlines out here. Okay. Yes, you would know that who you would know right away because the way your body will feel around them. Okay. Always trust your instincts. Your instincts will save you. Okay. Um, Somebody says, when my brother and I was 7 and 10, we were taken from our beds and brought back. And then when we was 16, a very tall white man with white beard appeared in the room and scared him so bad. Yes. I don't know if I want to go really deep into that. Some people, okay, it does happen where these beings do take you. Okay. Yes. Okay. It's true. Okay. And I don't know why our government is hiding this information because as a psychic, I'm telling you it's true. Okay. And why did they pick certain people? Okay. It's very interesting. Okay. And I do believe your story, Olive. But this Plemidian didn't take me. But it's interesting because we have good Plemidians and we have bad Plemidians. But the Plemidian was also warning me, the one as a child, okay? Because there was a man that lived in the woods behind the property way back. He was, my other sister, she was very, my other stepsister, she's my stepsister by marriage. She could see too, okay? And she was telling me, like, I didn't know this until later in life that this man was a predator, okay? So that the Palladium was actually warning me, okay, as a child, okay? Because I'd be in the woods for days. I mean, not days, for hours. And he could have took me at any time, okay? He could have took anybody. Yes, somebody says good night out of surf name. Okay, so when we think of the Galactic Federation is real. There's interdimensional beings are real. I know I sound crazy as hell. But it's true. I have seen them. I have encountered them. They can read your thoughts. They can telepathically communicate. And you have to mind your thoughts all the time because sometimes when you think that, hey TJ, when you think that they're your own thoughts, they're not your own thoughts. Okay? They're not. They're thoughts that are being planted in your head. Okay? So be careful of what you're actually hearing. Jesse Dunn, what did the lady say to me? She was talking to me. It was okay. I had one lady that had a fat face mask on. She would start talking about politics. It was bizarre as hell. And then I had one the Plemidian that was talking to me about going to Italy. Okay, it was weird. Okay, her taking a trip to Italy. okay, and that somebody died in her family, which I could see the man that died in her family. The man that died in her family was a grandfather, but it wasn't her grandfather. It was her. It was. This is gonna sound crazy as hell. Well, it was her grandfather, but it's deep. Okay, it's deep. Okay. She was talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. Okay. And then I had somebody that I encountered, and she was talking about um, when I made first contact with her. She was talking about and she was in a hospital setting. Okay, she was talking about like about life after death and stuff like that. I mean, it was just bizarre conversations. Okay, it was like not normal conversations you would have with somebody when you first meet them. Okay, it was like all the encounters with them. It's like they didn't really have like no social um you know how we have social interaction, like they didn't really know how to social interact, if that makes sense. Okay, yes, this world is weird. I try to learn as much as I can to know what is going on. Yes, always trust your instincts. Okay, your instincts will save you out here. Okay, um but I'm gonna end this, you guys. Thank you guys for joining me. Always remember that we're not going to a new earth. We are it's the inner state, inner consciousness awareness, and being aware consciously of what is going on around you, and who you're encountering. And mind your thoughts, because there is technologies out there that will plant thoughts into your mind. Okay, like you're not good enough, go jump off this fucking bridge. Okay, um those kind of shit. Okay, they are not your thoughts. Okay, they are thoughts that somebody's putting into you or saying to you, and you're perceiving them as your thoughts. Okay, they're not your thoughts. Okay, your thoughts are not going to be like, oh, go jump off of a bridge. Okay, that's not going to be your thoughts. Okay, yes, be very aware of it, of your thoughts, especially with depression, because when people get like suicidal, okay, um, sometimes they're not their own thoughts. Okay, so you have to be very aware of that. And I gotta say, for entertainment purposes, because this is for entertainment purposes, and this is all bullshit. Okay. All right, you guys. Good night, everybody. Stay safe. Always trust your first intuition. Always trust it. Okay. All right, you guys. Be safe. All right. Ashe.